Good afternoon. You guys are watching CIMS TV, and we have a special guest here today, Dennis. We're going to be interviewing him and asking him some questions about some work that he's been doing in the city of Raleigh, North Carolina. So, first question I'd like to ask you, Dennis, is to introduce yourself to the world. What's your name, or we already know your name, and the organizations that you represent?
Dennis Spivey, founder of an organization in Raleigh, North Carolina, Policy Matters North Carolina, as well as the Coalition of Melaninated People. Both organizations founded right here in Raleigh a few years ago, probably about 5-6 years ago.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking real quick, can you mention those two organizations again for the viewers?
It's Policy Matters North Carolina and the Coalition of Melaninated People.
All right. And can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm a musician, and but eventually I got into politics. I started out real low as a canvasser. Decided it was something I was interested in, so I kept moving. And this was one of the first elections I was a part of. Was President Obama, before anybody knew who he was.
Okay.
When we met him, he was speaking that good stuff, you know, and it kind of drove me into politics a little bit more. Over the years, I went from being a canvasser to working in the office, to being a field organizer, to eventually working my way up to campaign management. Did that for a few years in political strategy, and traveled the country. A lot of people don't know there's elections going on all the time. So if you're really into it, you know, you can live here for 3 months, work on that campaign, leave, come back home for a month, go live somewhere else for a few months. So I did that for a few years, working for different governors and different senators and different things of that nature. And eventually, I just saw behind the scenes what they really thought about us as a people. I'm talking about the candidates themselves.
Okay.
I could name names, I'm not going to do that, but it's people that if I said their names, they would know who they were.
Right.
And it started to eat me up.
Okay.
Of course, you got people getting killed, and we finally start to see this stuff on video. Eventually, I was just like, you know what, I got to go back home. As I became more conscious and researched and read some writings from Malcolm X and the last 2 years of Martin Luther King, and started to see how they their ideologies were starting to come together before they were killed.
Starting to converge. Yes.
Right. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I can't be working for these people. These people are not doing nothing for us. We're not asking them to do anything for us as a community.
Right.
So I decided that it was better for me to come back to my community and do something. And one of the things that really got me was just the way the police act, because I'm a bookworm. I love to read, and I started to self-educate after a while on the law. And so I decided to start intervening with my camera. I did that for a few years before anybody noticed, and eventually people started to take notice, and that's kind of where we are today.
Yes, I've seen a lot of videos here recently and in the past even, of you on Facebook. I wouldn't necessarily call it intervening, but actively surveilling situations with law enforcement, maybe dealing with different citizens, and even in some cases, informing those citizens of their rights. And so I'd like to, commend you for that and thank you for that.
No problem.
I think the people out there watching will agree that we're all confused about what we can actually do.
Right.
To help the situation, and it's good when you have a model there that you can follow.
Right.
So tell us more about those two organizations that you mentioned previously, and tell us independently what each organization represents, and specifically what each organization does to fix this political situation that you described.
Okay. Well, Policy Matters North Carolina, what we do is we educate people on their rights. We do law classes. we have come to a place where we can call detectives, we can call the higher-ups in the police department, we can call the VA, we can call the city council, we can call different people in government, locally and state level.
Wait, so let me get this straight. I don't mean to cut you off. So your organization, Policy Matters, has a positive relationship with law enforcement.
Well, I would say hopefully it will be mentioned. The reason why I say that is because I can't use the word positive, because one thing we do is we don't compromise with our realities as African Americans. And so that's why the relationship is not quite positive yet, because one of the things that in my conversations with some of the higher ups is that you can't expect us to go back into our community, because we got issues in our community, just like any other community. You know, everybody knows probably more drugs on the white side of town than it is the black side of town.
Right.
You know, we're talking about prescription drugs and opiates and things that's going on right now. That's not happening as hard over our side of town.
Absolutely.
You know? But we would, and those are the things that we talk to them about. Don't continue to tell us that what about black on black crime narrative that everybody's trying to use, when you're asking us to clean up our community, but then you got this blue wall of silence.
Right.
In your police department, and people, you calling some officers good, but they won't tell them the bad. So
right.
You're asking us, and I'm not, I'm not here to tell on anybody. I'm here to create solutions so we can solve some problems. But you're telling us to go back in the community, or trying to get us to speak on different things that we've seen in the community, or snitch, but you're not saying anything about your people. Now, I don't advocate people telling on each other in the black community for selling drugs and different things of that nature, because I believe the community as a whole has failed our youth. We don't have any opportunities to give people.
Right.
From us, we're begging everybody else for those opportunities. So, you know, that's why I can't say our relationship with police is positive, because we're kind of at odds right now.
But it seems the intention of Policy Matters is positive in the sense that it seeks to have a positive relationship with those representatives elected, mm-hmm. and even police officers. It seems that way.
Right. It's definitely a positive organization. We're not about going out killing people, nothing like that. That's not what we're about. We're about education, but we're also about the black community going from its state of being a colony into a community.
Yes.
And controlling the police in our area. See, other communities do that. They control the police. And because I said that, let me go back a little bit. And I said community and colony. One of the things we talk about in Policy Matters, and one of the things that's big in law, is the definitions of words. When you look at the definition of community, you have to understand how the federal government sees community. And the federal government sees the community as people, and just to name a few, who control their schools, who control their law enforcement, and who control their businesses.
Okay.
We don't know where our businesses are. Our kids are being piped into the prison system through our schools. We don't control the schools, and we know we don't control the police. So if we don't fit that definition accurately, then what do we fit? We fit the definition of a colony, because a colony of people is a group of people where the power does not come from within the people,
right?
They're controlled from the outside.
Right.
And in every area in this country, there is a black side of town, there's a white side of town. And, and the black side of town has absolutely no power, no matter if they're the majority of the city, like DC or Atlanta. It's the white side of town that's running things in the city. So we have to be, we have to know what we are in order to have the right perspective.
So how does then NC Policy Matters? Mm-hmm. How does that help us form that community?
Well, one of the things that Policy Matters is doing, of course, we're dealing with education, but we're also dealing with the pooling of resources, economics. And that's one thing that Policy Matters and the Coalition of Melaninated People are doing in conjunction with the Justice of Elks movement, because I'm also the chair for the Justice of Elks movement in this area of North Carolina, which is with the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And what is just for the viewers out there, and I myself, I may be a little confused. What exactly does justice or else mean? A lot of people think when you say justice, as black people, we've been taught to dial down ourselves to make everybody around us comfortable.
Yes.
But when we look at the history of white America, recent history, and I like to use this example, it's probably something people have heard before. when supposedly 9/11 happened by the hands of Muslim terrorists from Saudi Arabia,
yes.
Pakistan. As much as we talk about peace in America, America didn't sit down and have a peaceful response.
Absolutely not.
We went and we destroyed 2 complete nations.
That had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia.
Right. So, it's one of the things we have to understand is that black people we talk, but white folk get it done.
Right.
And the just as the else does not necessarily mean that we're going to, or else part of it does not necessarily mean that we're going to go, run in the streets and start beating people up and all that. One of the things is economic withdrawal. See, in the past, we had a boycott, and we have to honor our people from the past, but still learn from their mistakes. One of the things I talk about is that Black Wall Street wasn't destroyed because of the bombs. It was destroyed when integration was introduced. And during the integration, black people associated their freedom with spending their money with white people. So they stopped spending money at black businesses and spent their money with white folk. And the only thing that has integrated, again, remember, every city in the United States you see is segregated. One thing you can research is a racial dot map. Put your city's name in and look up racial dot map for your city. And you can see where black people live, where white people live, where Mexicans live, where Asians live. You'll see that line. But the only thing that integrated was our money. And where our money is, that's where our power is. So the or else is about economic withdrawal, not a boycott, but economic withdrawal. Pull your money out, establish businesses to fit the needs of the people, and keep your money there so you always have the power.
Thanks for clearing that up for me. Now that we got that discussed, because that's something that I wondered about, and I originally thought that to hear you explain it, and for some of you out there viewing, to hear him explain it, I think we could all agree that that's a viable solution. Right. What we were previously talking about, just to get back on task here, was NC policy, policy matters. Excuse me. Is that the right term?
Policy Matters North Carolina.
Policy Matters North Carolina, and how this organization has helped building communities.
Well, of course, with the education, and we're not just talking about police when we talk about law. We're talking about landlord-tenant rights. What rights do you have as a tenant? What responsibilities and rights do you have as a landlord?
Yes.
A lot of our people get evicted and get these evictions on their record and don't really know the process, and are not holding these judges accountable because you go into court and you don't really know what you're talking about.
Yes.
So you kind of get railroaded. And so that's one of the things we do with Policy Matters is education and things of that nature. It's more suited for the person who doesn't mind doing the research and the typing and things of that nature. But the Coalition of Melaninated People, well, going back to Policy Matters now is in 27 states. Chicago, Florida, we're in Tennessee, we all, 27 states.
So let me get this straight. Is it safe to say that Policy Matters is almost, we can use a metaphor to say it's a school of thought directed towards empowering black people to understand the laws of the land in which they're subject to?
Exactly.
So if I want to learn about law, and I'm in North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, I can attach myself to Policy Matters NC and be educated on the law.
You can, and you can also, if you want to start a chapter in your area, we're definitely open to doing that. And we can have different people come out and do seminars and things on the law. And not only do seminars on the law, but it's also a situation where you can call when you have an issue, a pressing issue, and speak to someone directly about the issue and get all the information you need legally for that particular issue, no matter what it is, because the law pretty much covers everything we do in life.
I think a lot of people could use something like that. A lot of people have incidents of, I got stopped by the police, this or that happened, and they don't know what to do. Right. So you're saying they could take their questions to Policy Matters NC and have them answered. What is that number that our viewers could reach out to you and have those questions answered?
The number for Policy Matters North Carolina is area code 919-421-0666. 4800. That's 919-421-4800. And one more thing about policy matters I was touching on before is that, I was talking about how we talk to judges and DAs and police. We've successfully gotten so many people's charges dropped before their court date because we'll call the DA and say, hey, listen, or the detective and say, hey, listen, if you don't make sure these things are done, we had a situation, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
A young man, he was locked up for armed robbery.
Okay.
The whole time the robbery was happening, he was at his girlfriend's house with his girlfriend's parents having a cookout. But he got locked up for the robbery. The police didn't do a proper investigation. We went and we talked to the victim of the robbery, and we showed him the picture of the guy. He said, I think it was an Asian man. He was like, this is not the guy who did it. He wasn't even there. So after we did all our research and we talked to everybody, and we got certified statements from the parents saying, yes, this young man was at our house with our daughter until 11:30 p.m. The robbery was happening at 10. He was with us at 11:30 p.m. Everybody was there, wrote statements. We took those statements and we submitted it to the detective. The detective didn't like it. We were talking to him kind of hard on the phone. But after he got those certified letters, and certified is key because there's a receipt with certified. It becomes a part of permanent record. You just can't deny that I've sent you, and we had it notarized. Within about 2 days, he was released from jail. He was in there for 3 months. He had a job. His boss gave him his job back. He lost his job for a little while. He had a family he was supporting. They had to move in with the parents. This is a normal thing in our community.
Yeah.
So those are the types of things that we do as well. It's not just on the street. It's behind the scenes, and most of what we do is done behind the scenes.
Wow, that's very impressive. That's very impressive. So now tell us about the Coalition of Melaninated People. Is that correct?
That's it. Coalition of Melaninated People.
Okay.
Coalition of Melaninated People started after Policy Matters.
Okay.
It was something, because one thing I noticed is a lot of people now have pulled away, and I'm not just going to talk about Christianity, but have pulled away from Christianity because of, let's say, Hidden Colors and things of that nature.
Yes. Very popular series out right now.
And a lot of people are just not attracted to religion.
Right.
And then you got the Hebrew Israelites who seem to close themselves off to people as well.
Yes.
And then you got the Nation of Islam. And you have all these different religions and ideologies.
Egyptologists.
Exactly.
Metaphysics.
Exactly.
Experts.
Mm-hmm. The Kemetic community or the conscious community.
Yes.
And COMP was started because a lot of people are just not interested in being part of labeling themselves with anything. They're just more interested in just dealing with life.
Yeah.
So we started the Coalition of Melaninated People because I don't really subscribe to any particular ideology, and I'm not in a place where I want to at this point. I grew up in the church. I'm still a musician. I play for churches, but there are a lot of questions about that need to be answered that a lot of pastors have not answered over the years. And so it doesn't seem right for me to have these questions and looking for these answers and then go into another religion.
I would like to ask you a question, just as that I have on mind, a burning question I have. I would like to gather your insight on. Why is it that you think, and I'm not generalizing, this is certainly not all pastors, for the viewers out there, but why do you think pastors, especially black pastors, avoid race issues so fervently? Because I feel like it is the avoidance of these issues that are causing them a lot of their membership.
Some of the pastors is because of the 501c3. You sign that 501c3, you give them your rights, a way to speak on certain issues, or they can come and shut you down. Some of them are just geared towards raising money. And a lot of pastors don't really know the subject matter. This is a whole other area of study. You have to really know history.
Yes.
Knowing the Bible is one thing, but knowing the history of white supremacy and systemic racism is a whole other area of study. Absolutely. And so now, literally, so many pastors are behind the curve. They really don't have anything viable to add to the movement.
Yes.
And that's the harsh reality of what we have going on right now.
So, bringing it back to the Coalition of Melaninated People, and you were explaining how it helps the community, and how it's a unified front for all people, all groups.
Coalition of Melaninated People is an organization that has Muslims a part of it, Christians a part of it, Hebrew Israelites a part of it, people who are more militant a part of it, people who are more business-minded a part of it. The actual mission statement of the Coalition of Melaninated People, which I'm paraphrasing, is creating a platform for organizations to share information. In other words, and it's not just organizations, it's people. You can be a member of a conference, or you can be a member of an organization. You have an organization that's doing good work in Seattle, Washington, and your structure is working. Why should it just work in Seattle? Why can't we share that information and you help others who have that same heart for that type of work? Help them establish organizations in their local areas, and you tell them how you get it done. See, that's what we're not doing. We're not sharing information. So that's what the coalition is about. It's about organizations coming together so we can spread good ideas. And it's about people who just want to join and be a part. You can start a chapter of the Coalition of Melaninated People. Coalition of Melaninated People now is in 34 states. And it's really taken off. And like I said, coalition is more for the person who may not want to do all the studying and the research and things of that nature, but just want to be involved, And so, we've grown since we started, and we're going to keep pushing.
It's funny you should say that, because I've been noticing here lately that when things happen now, and this is including all races, even white people, all people, but I've noticed now when injustices are happening, especially in the black community, the black community is responding together. For example, I know a lot of people may not know that right about the time those two police shootings happened, one in Minnesota and the one in Baton Rouge, protests ensued in London, in South Africa. Bahamas released a statement. Just last night, I believe I heard French blacks are protesting because of a black gentleman was killed in police custody. So people in Brazil, they said, are becoming unsteady. Black people in Brazil. So this is the first time I've seen personally where black people are all concerned all over. Right. But the Coalition of Melanated People seems to be an organization that's going to allow them to take their concerns and exchange them, and take their solutions and exchange them, and organize the entire body of grievances is what I can say it is. Black sufferation.
And you know what? And the difference between us and, let's say, other movements is that they want you to subscribe to their ideology.
Yes.
And that's what I don't like. I don't have to subscribe to your ideology. I just want to work with you on strength of being black.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I'm saying? And so that we don't talk about religion. We talk about politics. It's very important for us to talk about. But we don't talk about religion. All you got to do is be willing to work. And I think that's what sets us apart from everybody else. We're not trying to convert you into anything, but just unify us so we can work as a cohesive unit no matter where we are.
Right, and work whatever capacity you can work in.
Right.
So how does one reach out to the Coalition of Melanated People? How does one become a part of that or join the network?
I would say you may want to start by Facebook, going on, liking our page, Coalition of Melanated People, not the groups. The groups are, if you see those groups, you may have about 100 or so people in those groups. Those are the chapter heads and things like that in that group. So you can send a request to the new members group, but the best way is to like our page and send us a message. And somebody will get in contact with you and we'll talk to you from there. Because like I said, we're so spread out now that you may have somebody in your state that we can link you up to so you can make your communications through that person.
If a person was a little social media shy or at the age where they're not really actively involved with social media, how would they get in touch with the Coalition of Melanated People? Could calling you be, is that who they call? Or?
Yeah, you can definitely call me. You can call me at 919-449-1991. Again, that's area code 919-449-1991.
Okay. All right. So, We discussed already, just to recap, how people can get involved. We discussed how people can get in touch. We discussed some issues. We discussed what it means to be a community, and what it means to take part and being a part of that community. How long you've been involved in the type of work you've done. I just personally want to thank you for your time and thank you for your work. And I want to encourage everyone to do the best you can to be a part. It doesn't take much. If every black person in America gave $1 to a lottery, which we don't have one, but if we did, this is just hypothetical. It just shows the power of the dollar. There's millions of black people in America. We've had a 1 million man march. If 1 million men gave $1 at that march, we can make 1 black millionaire to start and operate businesses. If we gave $1 every day for 365 days, we can make 365 black millionaires in 1 year, which is more than what we have becoming millionaires in a year anyway. So I would encourage you all to reach out to the Coalition of Melanated People and Policy Matters NC to see how you can get involved, especially if you're in the North Carolina area. I will be in touch with Mr. Dennis to see how I can help as well. You guys have been great. Thank you for watching CIMS TV. Have a nice day.